Thanks very much, Sherry, and thank you to all of you for coming out this evening. It's a beautiful spring evening, and I know you have lots of other things you could be doing, but you're here because you care about climate change, you care about our community, and I know this forum doesn't have quite the sex appeal of the Helena Gurgis scandal, so thank you for dealing with what is important rather than what sells newspapers. As a party, the New Democratic Party had a bill that had been supported in a previous parliament, Bill C-311, that our goal was to tie the hands of our federal government prior to going to the Copenhagen climate change talks with tough science-based standards that would require them, based on a majority vote in Parliament, to say, yes, Canada is going to stand up and be counted, we're going to support stronger standards, we're going to join with the majority of countries in the world to improve our climate. Sadly, the Liberals delayed that bill in the House of Commons, kept it tied up in the committee. It never did pass prior to the Copenhagen talks, and that sabotaged our chance to have these targets and to tie the hands of our government before going into Copenhagen. But there was a vote this past week, and the Liberals joined with us and the Bloc to pass this bill. It now has had third reading. This takes us further than we have ever gone in the past in terms of setting clear targets and timetables for our country. And we're hopeful now that that will pass through the Senate and that we'll have this bill become law, and so that even these petro-politicians that are dominating our government today, for whom the oil industry overrides everything and base all of their decisions on the good of the oil industry, the oil and gas industry, it will tie their hands and force them to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in Canada. So that was a significant step forward. That just happened this past week, and we're hopeful that as this moves forward, that will make a concrete difference. Sadly, because of the lack of action by our federal government, it's left to provincial governments and mostly municipal governments to take action. And I will say that the Green Energy Act in Ontario does take us a step forward in terms of feed-in tariff and requiring Canadian content for energy production here in Canada. We're about 20 years behind Denmark and Germany and other major countries, but it's good to see us take that step forward, and I think it is significant. Those of you who follow trade agreements should be very concerned about the Canada-Europe free trade talks. I was in Ottawa yesterday at a news conference with the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives, the Council of Canadians, and a number of other organizations, the arts community, a number of NGOs, and the whole, you think Europe, these are higher standards, we're going to be pulled up to their standards. In fact, this takes the kind of investor provisions of NAFTA, takes it much further, and would require open access not only to government spending at the national level, but explicitly demands access to government spending at the provincial, territorial, and municipal levels, so that the kind of economic development decision taken by the City of Toronto in deciding to source the largest transit procurement funding in North America, to source that in Ontario, that kind of decision would be prevented by this new trade deal. So very, very significant talks that are going on right now, and should be of great concern. So our city has, I believe, been making great strides, and Gord, I'm sure we'll be talking about, there's a whole range of initiatives that our city has been undertaking. But for me, the most significant is the transit initiative. And, you know, after we're 20 years behind where we should be because of previous government's failure to invest in transit, and now our provincial government cuts our transit funding in half and takes us back so many years in terms of getting an efficient, effective transit system for our city. So very concerned about that. And while the Green Energy Act takes us a step forward, the decision by the provincial government to move ahead with refurbished diesel trains to go to our airport as an airport link.
Richard, the caretaker, can you come do 118, please?
You should come to the Environment Forum, Richard. The decision by our provincial government to create a rail link using refurbished outdated diesel trains as opposed to the newest electric technology trains that are being used everywhere around the world, frankly, is shocking. And to say that, well, we're going to do this for the Pan Am Games, but then we'll redo it all correctly, we'll put electric in down the road, it doesn't hold water. And you know, the little lungs of the kids that live in our community today are not going to want to wait 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years till some government down the road finally does the right thing. So while our federal government has abandoned its responsibility, we're trying to hold them accountable by effectively using minority government as opposition parties to force them to do the right thing through Bill C-311. And our provincial government and our municipal government, I think, are our best bet for taking action. But our efforts at the city, frankly, are being undermined by both trade deals and by regressive politics at the provincial level that are undermining what I think are our best local initiatives. So I'm being told I have to wrap up, but I just want to say that you're here, I know, because you care about the issue of the environment. You care that we're facing the issue of climate change, and it's not enough just to show up to a meeting. It's not enough just to talk about an issue. What is key is action, and there are some key actions that we need to take part in. The issue of transit, Gord's going to talk about an action tomorrow that we need to be part of, and there are ongoing community actions around the diesel trains and trying to fight that. And if our elected politicians are not doing the job and are not speaking up and not only saying whether they're in favor or opposing something, but actually taking active, concrete steps to defend the community, fight diesel trains, support public transit, get our federal government off its backside, and really take clear action on climate change, then as a community, we need to come together and we need to be the ones pressing for change. That's why I'm here tonight. That's my commitment to the community. It's my community. I live here. I'm not moving anywhere else. And I want to work with you so that we can continue to make change. Thanks very much for coming out tonight.